When dealing with a falsehood, you're faced with two options. You can accept it or you can reject it. The basis upon which we take one of these actions is a product of our critical thinking capabilities and a desire to know what is true instead of confirming our bias. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. On Brainstorm, we choose the hard truths over the comforting lies. Reason, compassion, skepticism. This is the Brainstorm Podcast.
To those listening live or to our patrons, welcome back. For those listening weekly, welcome to the Shift to Reason Radio, the Brainstorm production, where we take current events and important skeptical topics and try to analyze them critically. Remember that we're live on brainstormradio.net every second Friday, and today is April 13th, 2018. I'm Cory, and I'm still joined by Angela.
Hello.
Brandon.
Yeah, hello.
Lisa.
Hello.
Renee.
Hello.
And, of course, the always amazing Dave.
Also, hello.
Nice.
Whoa.
Also, hello.
That was amazing. I think that hello was my sexiest hello.
All right. Let's jump right into our Fuck You segment.
Still waiting on that heifer, Julio. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out.
All right, Brandon, what do you got?
You know, sometimes I feel bad when media outlets get sued. This is not one of those times.
This is not one of those times.
Headline is, man sues InfoWars for spreading rumor he was the Parkland shooter. Now there's a whole like scattershot we could go into with various mass violence conspiracy theories like we were talking about. But that's not my story. Marcel Fontaine is excuse me. He's a man from New York who he has pictures online just like all of us do. The pictures he has online happen to be of him in various garb. And the InfoWars people have seized on this to be like, to follow with the conspiracy theory that the Parkland shooter was not, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right now, the actual person who committed the crime. But instead it's Mr. Fontaine, who is basically being shat upon for being associated with it by Alex Jones.
Okay.
Yeah. In retaliation, he's suing InfoWars for defamation.
Okay.
And yeah, so he's following through with it. This is tying into like the same sort of fantastical way that Alex Jones approaches a lot of media news stories. He takes and runs with things far worse than they should be. And I don't know how many times Alex has been sued for stuff like this, but this is one of the first ones I've heard of. He just picks targets that don't really retaliate. They consider him beneath notice, it seems.
Right.
Now somebody's actually suing him, and he may actually face consequences for this.
Good.
Hopefully.
There was something a little while back where he was what was it? He was attacking some company. Said that their food did a thing.
Chicani or something like
right.
That. It was a yogurt company.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Was it Chobani?
Yes, that's the proper name. Yeah.
And they sent him a cease and desist, and he backed the fuck off pretty quick. But
yeah, I can't remember what the conspiracy theory, but it was something along the lines of because he was started by an immigrant, and then he's bringing in all these immigrants, and
right.
Standard Alex Jones bullshit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I rewatched the montage of somebody had turned his rants into an indie rock song.
Oh, nice.
I watched that again, and made me happy.
I almost want to start doing an audio segment where we like go through the odd
That would be fun.
Alex Jones video or whatever.
Yeah.
The forever, I don't want them turning the frogs gay.
That's right.
There's another great compilation of him just screaming.
Yeah.
That one's great too.
And then apologizing for it.
Sorry. I ate chili this morning. That was an excuse. I'm serious.
Summary being Alex Jones is spineless if you actually get your hands on him, sort of thing.
So where is this lawsuit in the process? Is it just started?
It's just started.
Okay.
He's unfortunately, the thing is that Alex Jones and InfoWars have pretty shitty sourcing to begin with. One of the photos associated with this is actually off of I want to say Pokemon image board.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like some 4chan thing.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
So
totally reliable.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, they totally fact check that stuff. Mm-hmm. Some of it's been edited, and one of the shirts in question, I wanted to make light of this. It's essentially a meme shirt. It's the 4 famous founders of communism drinking and having fun, i.e., Communist Party. And this, of course, makes him a communist. Because, of course, it does.
Right. Because that must make him a communist.
Yeah, a shirt makes you a thing.
I don't know. I swear to God, conservatives being anti-communist makes me want to wear all the communist shirts.
Kinda, yeah. It's like, come on, fight me.
Yeah, like
I want a special note is, I know this from a different case. Alex Jones has been personally sued for family issues, and he has testified in court that he is an actor.
Right? Yeah.
That he is essentially playing a character on fictional radio.
I just heard an interview on Polite Conversations with Ina with his ex-wife. Mm-hmm. And she said that he absolutely is not acting, and that was a big fat lie.
Really?
He is a fucking lunatic who believes all the things that he says.
That must have been an interesting conversation.
It was a very interesting
I'm not sure which is worse.
Although, to be fair, somebody's ex-wife is not exactly usually the most...
Not the least biased source.
Not the least biased source, but possibly a reliable source. You know what I mean? For what somebody truly thinks. Yeah. However, difficult to...
There might be a little bit of bias there.
You know who we should interview on this show? Cory's ex-wife.
Is Cory going to be there that night?
Yep.
I don't think she'd actually come on. I don't think she'd agree to that.
I think if one ex gets interviewed, then everybody else's has
to.
Oh, that is not nice to you guys.
Dig some out of my closet.
Everybody's ex gets interviewed on the show.
You get an ex, and you get an ex. Everybody gets an ex.
You know, it'd be awkward is that one of mine would just be Gumby's wife. So.
She is so nice.
So lovely.
I love that woman.
Yeah, when did this become Jerry Springer?
Yeah.
It's not paternity tests, though.
No, that's Maury Povich.
Same shit, different pile. So
less chairs throwing.
Yes, a lot less. So. Alex Jones is getting sued.
I personally hope it goes in the plaintiff's favor.
Right.
Because InfoWars is essentially a sack of shit dressed up like news.
Yes.
And it's not even well dressed as news.
It's just an umbrella for multi-level marketing. Well, not even multi-level marketing. It's just selling bullshit to vulnerable people.
Not entirely just bullshit, though. He does have a very extensive line of like survival-esque crap.
John Oliver made extensive use of the fact that he sells taint wipes.
Yes. Does he? His $1 million taint wipes? Yeah, yes. John Oliver.
One of the great things about their Brain Force Plus drug or whatever is that Paul Joseph Watson did a whole video on soy feminizing men and how feminist men are all soy boys and whatnot. But there's soy in the Brain Force Plus pills.
Of course there is.
So even if it had that effect, then they're doing that to themselves?
Yes.
You're buying this.
Oh.
was like, they even fooled me.
Yeah.
Joke's on you.
Of course, soy doesn't have that effect. But
Yeah.
whatever.
It would be so bad too if that happened. I mean, it'd be terrible if that became more feminine. It'd be a bad thing.
That is the general idea on that show of Paul Joseph Watson, for sure.
Yeah.
And you won't want to fight in our wars? Wait a second, is this an anti-marijuana ad?
Being feminine is bad. That's the message.
Yes. Can't have two women working on the same shift. Because then their periods are going to line up.
I don't know if you guys have seen it. Just that reminded me of it. There's a Facebook poster who keeps sharing these. They're phrased like classical anti-feminine statements.
The man who has it all.
Yeah. Yes. It's just.
Oh yeah.
I love the man who has it all.
Yeah.
He's amazing. You know, he actually manages to balance working, taking care of his kids, doing the dishes, and keeping that healthy glow all at the same time.
Oh, he's
and
a breeder.
Very
impressive.
Facebook page.
He's a breeder.
He is a breeder.
Okay.
Tough guy.
So you don't have a problem with his cum like you did the other.
Who are you talking to?
Was there something earlier about?
Yes.
Yes. I think we've talked about cum and bone.
We did.
I don't remember which one.
Probably.
How do we reverse that narrative?
There's far too much. There's far too much talk about expulsions. We're getting
which
we're
one
getting
are you
Lisa
talking about?
confused.
Yeah, I'm confused.
He-
Reference
Yeah.
1, 2, 3,
which
or
one?
4.
He's frigid and he always has a headache.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, and he doesn't mind if you like of course he knows that male lady refers to like a male or female, person delivering mail. He just,
okay
male
with
lady
that.
encompasses everyone.
that's right.
That's right.
It's genius. It's like the most.
It's fucking genius.
Kind of the opposite of Alex Jones.
Yes.
For sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest compliment you could give any Facebook page ever. Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen them just as I'm scrolling by. Sometimes it's like I go and I think, wait a second, was that one of those? Start back up.
It's fun.
I think I've heard that before in the different version. It's like that.
I officially like too many pages and have too many Facebook friends.
How many do you have right now?
Facebook friends?
Yeah.
1,150.
Wow.
Dear God, you're almost becoming Taylor Swift.
Very close.
Not
You
even
need more.
close.
You need more.
Not even close.
Most of the successful people I know have at least 4,000. So
Yeah, that's right. Most of the
Yeah.
most of the big names in skeptical circles are maxed out.
Exactly.
So-
right.
They have 5,000.
That's got to be your
Yeah,
goal.
That's got to be the goal.
Hey, here's a quote from John, age 36, who's a busy dad. My wife is actually really good. She even irons her own tops.
She does the dishes once in a while too.
Hey, all men, did you know that an hour spent cleaning the bathroom burns 71 calories? Be thinner, stay inside, be quiet, and don't forget to smile. It goes on.
It's such good shit, man. It's
Not,
so...
oh, okay, so last one. It's not right that my husband should do all the cleaning, so I pay for a cleaning gentleman to do it for him.
That's right.
Cleaning gentleman.
Cleaning gentleman.
Until you reverse the gender, you don't realize how absurd so many assumptions in our culture
Yeah, for sure.
and languages.
Totally.
There's however that kilt-based cleaning service around town.
I'm for
Yep.
that.
I wasn't sure until I saw like a lot of the signs that it wasn't just a joke in my neighborhood.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
But they wear stuff underneath.
She checked.
Angela knows. Okay.
Independently confirmed.
I have it on
Angela.
good authority that they've got at least boxer briefs underneath there.
Good authority.
They mention it on their Facebook page.
That was where all the downvotes to their Facebook page went.
Yeah.
What?
This is bullshit.
No true Scotsman.
Actually, that's not true. In tradition is that if there's a queen on the throne, you wear something underneath.
Huh.
It's a decency
The
thing.
queen is on the throne.
Yep. If it was king, It would
no,
be,
not
the
so
idea
much.
would be, commando.
Isn't
I remember,
that
like-
sexist?
Yes. Scotland.
Treat women the same
Yes.
as men. Damn it.
Whatever gets it unclothed Scott underneath the kilt.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
you-
move on to Renee's story before we keep going.
We could devolve further.
Yeah, I'm not sure how this is.
No?
This is not
You don't
gonna-
want to?
This is not going to
What's
be a
your
good
story, Rene?
devolving. Well, it's kind of connected to that. Is that this guy is worse than Alex Jones? If you believe it or not.
I don't. I don't. Tell me how.
Okay.
Tell me more.
There's apparently a guy who goes by the name of Side Thorn, which is probably the thorn in the side. How witty. And the conspiracy granny. And apparently in this video from Vice, what they did, it's a 6-minute video where they went to the Sutherland church shooting, or the site of the Sutherland church shooting.
I want to say Southland.
Is it Southland or Sutherland? Oh. Anyway, the shooting, the mass shooting down in
Florida.
Texas.
Texas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where basically the guy went in, just lit up the place, and everyone from 4-year-olds to grandmothers were taken
Right.
out.
It was at a church?
It was at a church.
Yes, that's right.
And apparently one of the kids that died was actually the pastor's 14-year-old daughter. And anyway, this guy who doesn't believe any of these mass shootings are real, he thinks they're all false flags, it's all a conspiracy, none of it happened. He claims that he has a $100,000 reward if anyone can prove any of these mass shootings actually happened. He give him a death certificate, a birth certificate, whatever. It's all, if you can prove it, he'll give him $100,000. It's all bullshit. But he actually went to the church and confronted the pastor, and it was like all filmed for Vice. And they were quite, it started off very, they're like, oh yeah, this is bullshit. See, there's no bullet holes. It's all bullshit. There's like a sign in front of the church where everyone has signed, condolences and stuff like that. This Side Thorn went and, the truth will set you free. And then there was a confrontation with the pastor, and it was like, at first he was shaking his hand and kind of talking to him, and then it just devolved. There's no one died. You're saying my daughter didn't die. No, she didn't die. She didn't even exist. You can't even prove she existed.
Wow.
And it just devolved into this. And
How hurtful.
just the worst. Like, this
That is the worst.
and they showed a guy that goes around debunking a lot of these false flag conspiracy theorists. And he's saying, like, with this stuff seemingly is escalating to the point where eventually one of these people are going to, I don't know, snap. They're going to say it's such a this is false, no one died, and they're going to go there with a gun and start shooting up the place. It's kind of, he didn't out and out say that, but he kind of hinted that way. And
Interesting.
And like, if you go to this guy's website, like, he's got a list of, these are all,
Columbine didn't happen.
I'd have to look at the list again, but it was like, basically anything in the last, say, 10, 15 years, like pretty much any mass shooting since 9/11, it's all bullshit. It's all a psyop. It's all a FEMA, capstone or, UN, thing. And,
A lot of collaboration there.
oh yeah, there's a lot. Like, it's all FBI,
Government
CIA,
organizations
and a
NSA.
FEMA and a military. Oh, I can't remember the term he keeps using because I watched a couple of this guy's videos. It's where they do fake. It's for training where they use fake blood and guts to kind of desensitize your soldiers and and
Military exercise.
military exercise, and it was all fight. It's all crisis actors, and and of course he keeps saying, "I'll give you $100,000 if you can prove it." Well, the problem is, damn well if they go, "Well, here's their fucking death certificate." Oh, you faked that.
That's exactly what would happen.
He's moving the goalposts
constantly.
He's not going to lay out what would constitute proof beforehand.
And of course the guy, the pastor was just like, okay, because the way trespassing laws work apparently in Texas is he had to physically ask the guy to leave. And it seemed like he was surprised when the pastor showed up. And so he's like, okay, now you're here. Now I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And then, fuck you, Frank. You're a demon, blah, 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 blah. And then someone called the cops. The cops showed up and, why are you arresting us? Well, trespassing, asshole.
That's like, wow.
And it was just one of those things where when I was watching it, I'm just like, wow, fuck these guys. Like at one point I used to listen to like saying Alex Jones because I thought it was funny. And then all of a sudden I stopped listening because I realized people that listen to him are crazier than he is.
Yeah, they take that shit very seriously.
And this guy, I would argue, is even crazier than Alex Jones because he thinks Alex Jones is on the government take.
That's wild.
And
I want to see them get in a fight.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But
To be fair, Alex Jones is friendly with the head of the American government.
Yeah, that's true. He is kind of friendly with the president right now.
Well, there is that. But
See, it's all coming together.
He hasn't even said anything about the border guards that are lining up on the border now when they're talking about the wall and all this shit.
No, well, why? He doesn't want the Mexicans here either. So, but it was this case of, I saw this, I'm like, holy fuck. Like, there's, these people actually exist and they're starting to go to this level. Like, these guys have got their shit booted off YouTube. Like, they had a YouTube page and you can't find their videos on YouTube anymore.
Oh, wow.
Not just demonetized, booted right the fuck off YouTube.
Wow.
So that just shows you how vile some of this stuff has got to be.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, like you got to be really fucking toxic and nasty to get kicked off of YouTube.
Yeah, I mean they
entirely.
Yeah, you can't find his stuff on YouTube. Like you have to go to his website, which is then a sub-site of like 153 News or something. And of course, they call themselves truthers and journalists and whatever. And
yeah,
not a journalist.
Yeah, the one video I watched was him commenting like he was. I couldn't quite tell what the way the video was, whether he was commenting that he was at the scene or whether he was commenting on someone was taken at the Vegas shooting. And he's just like, oh yeah, see, the cops already had the place already pre-cordoned off, so it's a false flag. Blah. It's like,
it's an event. You cordoned off the area. It's an event.
No, you dumb fuck. It was an outdoor concert in the middle of Vegas. Of course they're going to have cops out there controlling the flow of traffic. What? It's like, you dumb fuck. But
apparently Jason Aldean's a liar.
Yeah, apparently. Well, they're all in on it. It was all a PSYOP operation and blah, 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 blah. But just the fact that this guy could stand and looking this guy straight in his face and tell him, no, fuck you, your daughter didn't die.
She didn't even exist.
She didn't even exist.
I can't even, the hurt as a parent. Like, that's worse than Alex Jones telling the Sandy Hook parents.
Or do you just feel really sorry for that guy?
Yeah,
because he's so fucking deluded that he would just say to the person whose child was killed, they didn't even exist.
I save my sympathy for the grieving father.
This is the point where I think my empathy is like, no, fuck that guy. Because,
totally.
there's a point where it's like, you know what? You can believe that the government is corrupt and crazy. There's evidence to that. But to think that they're going to, that the government.
Not to that extent, though.
Corruption is not the same thing as conspiracy.
Yeah,
right?
but to
not even close.
To orchestrate this false flag narrative and blah, blah, blah. Why? If the government's going to actually take your guns, do you know what it's called? A vote in Congress. They're not.
Well, and they
don't have to organize this shit.
They're clinging to a really outlandish possibility because the truth is that much scarier.
Yeah,
it's so much more frightening.
The world is chaos.
Yeah,
shit happens.
Yeah,
but it's with these conspiracy theory, these nuts. It's weird is that they're patriots and they blah blah there's fucking on his website there's American flags fucking everywhere, but yet
they're having sex or just
That's actually, I started picturing how it would look if American flags were fucking.
They're just like
they're waving in the breeze.
Really, it's called a country music festival. That's what it looks like.
yeah.
Oh man.
Is there like
See, now
I like country music.
There's fireworks and everything. I mean,
Yeah?
So does Brandon. Brandon
camouflage?
Oh yeah,
Music ain't
definitely.
bad.
true.
Yeah.
We aren't the only two humans in the universe who like country music.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
But at any rate, this guy's an asshole. So's Conspiracy Granny. Next.
All right.
Well summarized.
That was good.
Let's go into the Woo Report.
I'm not a scientist, but if I can tell you your science sucks, then your science really sucks.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck.
That means you, Lisa.
Is it me? Okay.
That's you.
I was like, oh, fuck.
I was like, what happened? Did the show end?
I need
Corey walked out. He's fucking done.
I need
done.
Cory to tell me when to do things. Okay. I read this story way before the podcast, and I was super prepared for it.
Yes, you
So-
were.
You read your
Thank you.
news story before it was cool.
Yeah. So it's on Jen Gunter's blog. So we love Jen Gunter. She is a
Yes.
gynecologist and medical bullshit debunker. So this is an article called "The New Quote Study on Medical Abortion Reversal is Total BS. Here's Why." So there is a new study on, quote, abortion pill reversal, quote, unquote, and it is bullshit. It's a terrible study, but as it advances a forced birth agenda, we can expect forced birth politicians to salivate and cackle and use it to brew more laws that amount to experimenting on women. So I think it's, first of all, very interesting. I've never heard pro-lifers called forced birth.
I like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting sort of term.
I like that flip of the words.
I think it
Yeah.
illustrates
Birth.
what they want.
Right. No choice. You got to give birth. Anyways.
It's better than pro-birth because forced birth is more. There's more.
Well, it just
Sinister.
emphasizes that the choice is not the woman's. It's
Exactly.
you are forced to give birth.
Yeah.
So Jen's pissed off because there's a website called MedPage that is a real website that shows real medical articles on it. And so she doesn't know why a real medical site would report on such a low quality piece of drivel. So MedPage made sure the quotes from the horrible people at the American Association of Pro-Life Obstetricians and Gynecologists, who make it their business to spread lies about abortion and to report women with miscarriages for suspected murder, were up front, and the quote from ACOG, whose business is to spread facts about abortion, is buried at the end. So she's mad at MedPage. So you have this study, quote unquote, in a it's a journal, but she calls it an anti-abortion shit aggregator instead of a journal, called Issues in Law and Medicine. So it's a hate journal that exists solely to publish shitty studies to advance extreme right conservative agendas. So like, she kind of gives some example articles they published in the past. I don't know. Anyway, I won't even list them off, but they basically are a not a real journal that's just looking to advance certain policy and not real scientific results.
Okay.
They also published the American College of Pediatricians, who apparently are also a hate group of pediatricians, with articles like abortion breast cancer link, review of evidence from Asia, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So, the apparently Issues in Law and Medicine, this fake journal, is actually indexed in the National Library of Medicine, which makes it seem respectable. She thinks that it shouldn't be in there. But anyway, so back to this actual study. It's called, quote, a case series detailing the successful reversal of the effects of mifepristone using progesterone, and claims a 64% success rate in reversing the medical abortion regimen when given after the first part of the regimen, the oral medication mifepristone. Thank you. So just
You're welcome.
thank you, Self, for figuring out how to say that. Fuck y'all. So apparently, and I have no idea about that. It's you can, if one is pregnant and one wants to have an abortion, one can take 2 different medications. The first one you take is called mifepristone, and then you have to take a second drug a few weeks later. So what this study basically did was to take women and women who had already taken the mifepristone, and then they decided, oh, actually, I don't want to have an abortion. They've gone to these doctors and they've given them something else, progesterone, and then that's supposed to possibly reverse the effects of the first medication.
Right.
Because you need to take the second one a few weeks later. Anyways, okay.
Supposedly.
Yeah, they don't, of course, take the second one. Anyways, so basically, first of all, the authors used data from women from the United States and, quote, several other countries who called a, quote, informational hotline about abortion reversal. We are not told which are the countries. This is the thing she really has a problem with. The patients in the study did not consent to being in the study.
Oh.
They decided that they had an internal review board waiver from requiring the women to participate in the study. So the women consented to taking the drug, which is any medical procedure, especially a major one, you would commonly get patients to sign a written consent that, yes, they agree to this treatment.
Yes.
Which is not at all the same thing as consenting to be in a study.
Right.
So this is the thing she really has a hard time with this. Now, after hearing some kind of information which is not detailed in the paper, but I am sure is totally facts based inside sarcasm emoji. The women who chose to proceed were referred to, quote, physicians and mid-level practitioners for treatment. So the women apparently gave written informed consent for treatment, but again, did not sign. They were not told they were going to be in a study, and they did not, because these, quote, researchers decided they had a waiver on this. So an IRB waiver also generally means that there is minimal risk. But since this is an experimental drug on a vulnerable population, pregnant women and fetuses are considered a vulnerable research population, it doesn't make any sense that they would be given this, that they would have that they would be given a waiver on having to give consent to be in a study. She actually apparently asked 3 different people she knows on institutional review boards, and all 3 of them said that's really weird.
Wow.
So she basically thinks that the reason they didn't do this is because if they actually did have to get ethics review, because if anybody I know who's ever had to apply for ethics review to do a study, it's really hard to get. You have to jump through a lot of loopholes. There's a lot of levels. It's a lot of work. And she thinks they probably didn't do it because it would have been their study would have been deemed unethical, and they wouldn't have been allowed to do it. So,
surprise. Yeah.
So, so what they did is these random practitioners, like there was 325 different practitioners, delivered a hodgepodge of progesterone administrations that included intramuscular injections of progesterone and oil, oral administration of micronized progesterone, vaginal use of oral micronized progesterone capsules, compounded micronized progesterone vaginal suppositories, progesterone vaginal gel, and progesterone vaginal suppositories. So it wasn't even consistent in how this was delivered. So really weird way to this is not typically how you'd see an actual research medical research go on.
Did they say anything about a control group?
Nope, they had no control group. They did lose a significant number of women in follow up, meaning that 27% actually they couldn't follow them up.
Right.
That's a huge number of people to lose in a study.
Yeah, over a quarter of your subjects didn't report back.
Yeah. They received, there's no demographic information in the study, beyond gestational age, mode of delivery of progesterone, amount of progesterone administered, quote, birth defects, and gestational age of delivery. We don't know maternal age, race, country, pregnancy history, smoking history, body mass index, or really anything about these women, meaning you couldn't actually draw any conclusions from the study. So the study, she says, is no shocker. So when the patients are given so you have women who've taken mifepristone, And if they don't get the follow-up, it's called misoprostol, a few weeks later, then they end up carrying the pregnancy to term 25 to 50% of the time. Now, that's actually a known effect. Like, if you don't take the follow-up drug, you end up 25 to 50% of women will still be pregnant and have a baby. Now, they basically found this when they gave the progesterone after that first initial drug. So what's happening is these right-wing people are going to say, okay, I can give you this drug. So you take the first half of the abortion pill regimen, and then you decide, no, I don't want to have an abortion. Then you can take this other stuff and it'll reverse it so that you can, have your baby.
Right.
The thing is, they just found the same rates of women carrying their pregnancies to term as they would have if they'd done nothing. So the current standard of care, if a woman does take the abortion pill and then decides she wants to actually have it, the actual standard practice now is to do nothing.
Just don't take the second pill.
Don't take the second pill and see what happens. And this study basically found that it's just as effective as taking this random hormone. So this paper adds nothing to what we know and offers no proof that progesterone does anything. The idea apparently is not biologically unsound, but testing it was outside of internal review board approved protocol without informed consent is unethical.
Yeah.
Unethical. So that's what the article is about. But it's what I found interesting as a general takeaway is that if you're not an expert, it's just so hard to know what's a real journal article and what's not. And it's just amazing that there can be journals, quote unquote, out there that are basically just that are not actually there's no factories. If you are in academia, which journal you publish in, actually, especially medicine, becomes very, very important. It's very much about prestige of the journal, and a lot of people roll their eyes about that, like, oh, it's not fair that only certain journals are considered prestigious. But in actuality, when you think of things like this, it's like, well, at least there's there's journals with reputations to uphold. That are reputable. So
it's like the difference between getting your story on CBC versus the Rebel.
Exactly.
I think we've talked about that to some degree before, is the pressure to publish in academia and some of these pay-to-play journals that take advantage of that, and they don't really add anything to the discourse, and they don't prove anything.
Well, and it depends on the field. Like, medicine is very, very, very competitive.
Right.
When I was in astronomy, if you had real research that you really did with real data, you're going to get it published somewhere. Unless it's a total piece of crap. There's enough journals that it was going to happen. And
if you do a good study, then it will work.
But in medicine, there are so many journals, so the prestige of the journal becomes very important. It should be, apparently. But it's interesting. They use title, like what did they call this? What is this journal that it was published in called? Issues in Law and Medicine. That doesn't sound like, you know what I mean?
Issues in Law and Medicine.
This is this pseudo journal.
That sounds like a blog title.
But it's, you know what I mean? It doesn't indicate that it's going to be some super right-wing thing, right? It's just,
that's true.
Or the American College of Pediatricians. That sounds like a totally legitimate thing. No, apparently it's a group that is an anti-abortion group. They choose these really innocuous names, but because they know what they're saying is controversial. So, anyways.
Well, on that note, did you know that Rand Paul started his own medical board?
Nice.
So he could skip certifications?
Interesting.
That's just smart. No.
Right.
Yeah, there's the quality control for the boards and stuff like that. It's pretty thin. But yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts on that particular study?
I feel like the conclusion that came out of that is very in fitting with the notion of the forced birth choice of term.
I said forest birth.
Forest.
Well,
you got to go into the forest.
Sort of therapy.
Yes.
And be one with nature.
There's a suicide forest, and then there's the birth forest.
It's all natural. It's an all natural.
Heaven help you if you get them mixed up.
Shit, I took a left instead of a right.
We're in the wrong forest.
Why did they have to be across the road from one another?
Abort! Oh, wait.
Wait,
let me rephrase.
Wait, which one do I go to?
And that's the brainstorm signature I was hoping for.
I just clapped for myself.
I would clap for you too, Angela.
Self high five.
Yes.
On that note, we'll move on to Angela's story.
Did you give me your story? You did. No, you have your own story.
I have my own story.
Renee has a different version
This
of
is
the
an old.
notes.
This is an old one. I did on my tablet. I didn't update the
Yours
right
should be from the
okay.
groundup.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
The title of the article is How a Journalist Took an Ethical Stand and Risked Her Job. Natasha Bolognese refused to edit a bogus article and was essentially taken to... This happened in South Africa. And one of their most notorious quackery promoting publications is closing down after 18 years. And
That's good news.
one brave journalist by the name of Natasha Bolognese she stood up for evidence-based science, which ultimately led to the end of this publication. So Deline Totten, who is the owner, publisher, and editor of Natural Medicine, she's sad because it's her publication is shutting down. But the reason that they're shutting down is because Natasha Bolognese, who is a journalism graduate, she was a copy editor.
Okay.
And it's a really important job, and you're not just tasked with correcting grammar and such, but you're also...
that's pretty important.
It's really important. It's really important because a comma misplaced can totally screw up the thrust of an article, if you will.
I love my parents, Superman and Wonder Woman. I love my parents, Superman and Wonder Woman.
There you go. Exhibit A. Exhibit A.
Right.
Yeah. So Deline Totten she's a special lady, and she's been promoting and marketing and selling a product called Wavex or Wavex. It's all capitals, WAVEX. And it's a small plastic chip, which its manufacturers and peddlers claim that you attach it to your cell phone and other mobile devices to reduce harmful radiation.
All right.
With probably no connecting links or anything. It's just to stick it on the phone.
Well, it says that it's for mobile devices. It's a composite chip of 7 superposed layers outside of plastic, inside 5 layers with silver ink printed circuits, which, if they are exposed to the electromagnetic waves, weaken the passing harmful radiation and balance it with the magnetic field of your body, according to the marketing material.
Right.
Your body doesn't have a magnetic field.
It's total horseshit.
It doesn't?
Actually, your body, every molecule in your body, many molecules in your body. Well, I mean, like water, like hydrogen has a magnetic field. However, on average, they're all pointing in different directions, and they average out to 0. But like in an MRI, you align them all, right? And then you tweak them, and then that's how you can image things. So you do have magnetic fields in your body, but they're all...
But it takes a massive machine to do the thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a really powerful magnet to align them all, but they're totally all randomly aligned normally, and you have no net magnetic field. Just saying.
Right.
So that technically you do have a bunch of very small magnetic fields.
But the manufacturers of this product claim that it's scientifically proven.
Yes, of course.
When in fact it's all Fruit Loopery, according to direct word used in this article, which I approve of. Pseudoscience masquerading as science to confuse and convince customers. All research quoted on its website reflect an absence of evidence that the product works. So it basically uses scare tactics to sell a scam products. And I could go into more detail about the product, but it's just another one of those bullshit products, like that Q-ray bracelet, things like that.
Wait. Q-ray bracelets work. Don't
no.
Don't piss me off, Angela.
I love you, Lisa, but you're wrong.
But one person told me one time it worked.
One time? That's anecdotal, Dave.
Yeah.
You can't.
It's real people.
No.
A statistically significant number of people told me, Angela.
Define statistically significant.
Or the SniffX bomb detector.
Yes, exactly. So Natasha was the copy editor at the time, and she had to edit essentially an article about this WaveX product. And she was sure that it was a scam, and she was worried about the effect it would have on the publication if she continued to sell it. So the sale and marketing of this became more intense, and Bolognese became increasingly concerned, and Totten was using every issue of Natural Medicine to promote this product. So Bolognese sent her an email on June 14th, 2017, saying to Totten that the research was not peer-reviewed and that organizations such as the Australian Radiation Protection and Nuclear Safety Agency and the U.S. FTC warned against such devices. So she stressed that the flawed scientific research and negativity surrounding this chip and others like it that are sold to a vulnerable and ignorant market, as well as the possibility of being charged with fraud, can only have a detrimental effect on you further down the line and detract from your company's credibility. So and it goes on to say the role of a good copy editor is vital in journalism, these unsung heroes of the profession, besides seeing to it that grammar is used correctly, also act as watchdogs to prevent libel and defamation creeping into copy. And they often act as quackbusters when products are marketed using false claims. Which is interesting to me, because there's some magazines that I'm thinking, doesn't the copy editor have... There's some, bullshit supplements and stuff that you see.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But the thing, supplements kind of get a pass in a lot of cases because of the way that they're actually...
A lot of people probably buy into it, too.
So many.
Yeah. But not just that, but there's also, because they're not technically medication or anything to that effect, they basically, the only pass they have to get is, are they safe to eat?
Right.
Yeah. So this email that she sent was ignored, and 2 weeks later she received an instruction from Totten to copy edit, quote, at a lengthy pseudoscientific study that it worked. And the study was from the Ukraine, and Bolognese refused to perform the instruction because she knew that studies from the Ukraine weren't reliable.
Right.
Oh.
And she explained she could not be held responsible in any way for promoting a product that was potentially fraudulent. And she was correct to doubt the credibility of the study. It could not be taken seriously. Most significantly, the research is done on quail embryos, and therefore study results cannot be satisfactorily related to humans, which, makes total sense. In fact, rodents are first for use for scientific medical research because they closely resemble human biological genetic.
But even then, you can't just say, I have a rat study. Now we can use that on humans.
Yeah, exactly. Pass. So the study also concluded that the findings allow recommending WaveX chip as a promising approach to reduce adverse effects of mobile phone radiation for human health.
But don't you think that cell phone using quails would actually have benefited from this study? Should they not have
yes.
published that?
But they weren't reading this magazine.
The embryos?
They might have wanted to read it, those quails.
Do the embryos have the means with which to handle a cell phone? Could you put them in that scenario and measure radiation? I don't know.
Well, they're I guess birds don't carry the embryos in their bodies,
right.
So
it's a
I guess
petri dish.
It wouldn't really be their mothers using a cell phone.
Not necessarily.
Right.
They're not mammals.
So needless to say, Totten was pissed and threatened Bolognese with disciplinary action if she refused to perform the instruction.
Help me show my shitter health.
Bullshit study. And so Bolognese said, well, bring it. And
good for her.
Yeah. She was not only trying to protect the public, but ironically, Totten herself. So the Press Council's ethical code clearly states the media shall not allow commercial, political, personal, or other non-professional considerations to influence or slant reporting. Conflicts of interest must be avoided. So on July 5th of last year, Bolognese was suspended from her work duties with no recourse to self-representation, which in this case amounted to an unfair labor practice with immediate effect pending a disciplinary hearing. And the disciplinary hearing took place at Totten's lawyer's office. Bolognese represented herself. She had 2 expert witnesses on call, a media ethicist and an expert in science journalism from Stellenbosch University, as well as an electrical engineer, both witnesses having PhDs. They were very, very well read, obviously. The hearing was confidential, and they can't name the witnesses. So Bolognese had a very strong case. She made some very strong points. Out of a sense of duty in her role as copy editor, she had tried twice to warn Totten of the risks involved with WaveX and how important it was to give the public accurate information. Totten's instruction was not lawful nor reasonable because it requested content on the Ukraine study, non-validated research, which would involve making false and misleading representations to the public. Her third point was that the instruction was also unlawful because it involved conflict of interest. Not only did Totten sell the product herself, but an advertisement on the product would run alongside mentioning the study without mentioning that numerous other peer-reviewed scientific studies have contradicted the Yakimenko study from Ukraine. The experts made strong points, but the chair completely ignored them.
Who was this person? Were they working for the law office? Like, why was it happening there?
I don't know. They don't mention who presided over stuff.
Sorry, where was this taking place again?
South Africa.
Interesting.
And what's the organization? Like, is it a newspaper or a magazine?
Magazine called Natural Medicine.
Is it well known? Is it a reputable thing?
It was pretty reputable at the time, but it kind of just went south. So in the end, Bolognese was found guilty of insubordination, despite sound evidence produced at the hearing. In the assessment, the chairman said that Ms. Bolognese was appointed as a copy editor. The fact that she has qualifications alluded to, or that she performs work other than what she was appointed for, does not absolve her from following the instructions of her employer. Ms. Bolognese was not asked to write an article in her own name. She merely had to furnish a summary of a scientific report. So she's basically, she didn't agree with what was instructed of her, and she didn't do it, and that is basically the only reason she was found to be insubordinate. But in the end, she's happy that it can be talked about in the public now. Like, she's kind of the takeaway is basically that the legal profession doesn't necessarily take into consideration scientific evidence. And there was a recent study in the Stellenbosch Law Review by Dr. Arnold Muller, mathematics expert at Stellenbosch University, severely criticizing our courts of law in the way they deal with forensics, showing the legal fraternity's ignorance about science. So it's kind of a bittersweet article. The magazine is done, and I mean, she was accused of insubordinate. She was found to be insubordinate, and she didn't win her case. But in the end, I mean, the magazine it's not promoting quackery anymore.
Right, yeah. It's a tough balance, I guess.
Yeah, but it's interesting that the legal system in South Africa doesn't really take science into consideration. Especially since they're so evidence-based. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I can imagine that the legality argument is kind of the dominant force in the decision, by the sounds of it. Where the whomever it was felt that it was a legal instruction, without concern for what she considered the ethical requirement. Because the ethical requirement isn't a legal requirement; it's kind of a set of personal ethics.
Well, the journalism ethics, though, she was operating within the ethics of being a journalist,
right?
Mm-hmm. And it's a copy editor's job is, like we already said, correct grammar, but also let's not get sued for this. Let's not,
Right.
But she didn't go to a professional association by the sounds of it. She went to, like, they had apparently a legal argument.
Well, they went to the...
Is there a professional organization for such a thing in South Africa?
Probably.
This is probably the mechanism and the vehicle they have to deal with this. I would think so. That's why they went through it.
It might be hard. I mean, that's just it. Is I don't know. I know next to nothing about South Africa, so how they run their laws.
It's a little specific.
Yeah.
Well,
So Advocate Piet van Staden was presiding as chairman. So he was the one that made the decision.
Okay.
And they referenced the South African Press Council.
Okay.
And the ethical code of what the media is set out to do.
Right.
Okay.
Doing extreme things against your employer's wishes for ethical reasons is always a hard sell, right? I mean,
yeah.
I'm thinking like of a more extreme case, even like somebody like Edward Snowden. Right?
She did,
mm-hmm.
and she did the right thing, ethically.
Yeah.
But whether that fits even their board ethical standards or the legal standards, of course, are going to be.
You're always going to have trouble. Like if you're, I don't know, you're going against a very large. A much stronger opponent if you're going against your employer, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Straight up. So,
yeah.
Interesting story, though.
Yeah, it was a good read.
Thanks, Angela.
You're welcome.
All right. Mine is, I guess, also sort of interesting. It's from news.com.au. Naturopath Marilyn Bodnar was convicted for her role in the near starvation and endangerment of a baby. She was she was sentenced to 14 months, including the time she served. She will be in jail for another 7 on top of that. And the judge said that her age, she's 62, played a role in the sentencing. I'm not sure that I'm convinced it should have, but that's fine.
Yeah, apparently a year and change is hard on an old lady.
Yeah. But she was convicted of, aiding and abetting the mother who didn't provide adequate care for her child. She told the mother who was breastfeeding at the time to give up all foods that weren't raw vegetables, fruit, and seeds because this would cure the child's eczema in 2015. And the baby boy became sick and started throwing everything up, so she recommended giving him goat's milk, and which the child also threw up. And then she told her client that the vomiting was good because it purged toxins.
Sorry, what was her job title? Like,
she's a naturopath.
Okay.
Yeah. So eventually in May of 2015, the mother took the baby to the hospital because he had a fever and a staph infection and weighed around 14 pounds.
Oh my God.
Which is in the 0 percentile for babies in that age group, which was, I think, 8 months at that time.
Wow. Yeah,
so
that's pretty small.
Yeah, very small. The Bodnar was acquitted in an earlier case where one of her clients starved to death on an extreme diet. But in that case, she pled guilty to aiding and abetting. In the previous case, she was the friend giving advice, not the health practitioner applying client care.
Yeah.
The judge said people are perfectly entitled to portray themselves as able to cure illnesses through the placement of crystals on the body, the use of highly diluted solutions, and the eating of activated almonds. But he also said, well-intentioned but seriously misguided advice is, as the facts of this case demonstrate, capable of causing great harm and even death to vulnerable children. So it's interesting. This is in Australia, so they have the right to do this stuff, even though they know legally that it causes this level of harm or can cause this level of harm. The judge also said that the child, who was now 3, will need to be regularly assessed in order to determine if there was any long-term effects from the starvation, like brain damage, perhaps.
Poor baby.
Yeah.
That sucks.
I feel like that could fall under failing to provide the necessities of life.
Yes, that is actually one of the things in this article said. It's considered failing to provide the necessities of life. Yeah, right there. Direct quote.
All right, then.
Yeah.
Of course, this is all part of the whole naturopath idea. It's like,
yeah, that's right. The mother was also charged and given a 14-month suspended jail sentence after pleading guilty for failing to provide for her child. Bodnar was originally charged with recklessly causing grievous bodily harm to the baby boy, but that charge was dropped, and she was then charged with aiding and abetting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, does the child still live with his mother?
It did not say in the article. Mm-hmm. I would hope not.
I feel like that would have something to do with the suspended sentence, that they still had to parent, and that's why they got it. Mm. I imagine if they lost custody.
Do they have more than that child, too? I mean, you never know.
This falls under the whole notion that it's like the naturopath idea. If it's from the earth, it's just fine. If it's the thing doing it by itself, it's fine. It's like your baby shouldn't be vomiting that much.
Right.
That's not cool. Don't know.
It's a pretty bizarre state of affairs when your kid is vomiting so much, and then you go to your naturopath and they say, give them goat's milk.
I had a really bad reaction when I was an infant to goat's milk.
Is that right?
Yeah, and you're not supposed to introduce dairy for a while when a child is born. You're not supposed to give them milk.
Right.
For
like external.
A year.
Until they're 12 months.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's dangerous.
It just reminds me of that case in Alberta where that couple didn't treat their kid who had meningitis, but they have other kids, sick. And they've had another child since that kid.
That's
and
right.
They have them. They're in their custody.
Well, seems like.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say it seems like a lot of places don't really have the adequate
protection.
Protections for children.
Well, and also, I don't know. Maybe Dave can speak to this because he has a social work background. The goal as a social worker when you are dealing with parents that aren't being good to their kids, the goal is to, try and facilitate that while the child is still living in the home. You're not just at all costs making sure the kid is okay. Like a lot of times your hands are essentially tied.
Right.
As a social worker, because okay, maybe it would be best if the kid lives somewhere else. But, I mean, there's a big need for foster families to take kids in. But I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of times the system is limited in what it can achieve, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you have to, you have policies and ethical guidelines and all these things, and like you really have to substantiate a claim to remove children from the home.
Yeah.
And of course, there's limited resources as well.
So it's, obviously the goal is not to take kids out of homes. Like that's
right.
That's not what social services sets out to do. When I worked, in government agencies, there's some times when I walk into a home and my bias in everything I see and experience is, yeah, this kid shouldn't be there.
Right.
But I need to substantiate that with certain claims and stuff, right? So,
yeah.
And maybe the things I think are, not healthy for a kid are not necessarily fitting of that criteria either. So,
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard row to hoe, I guess you could say.
I have to say, it doesn't seem like. It seems like if your child is vomiting, naturopathy is not the response to it. So maybe you need to seek actual medicine.
I mean, I myself will never take my kid to a naturopath because they're quacks, but
that's the thing, that natural medicine, they charge you tons of money because it's not covered often, but they'll spend more time and they'll listen to your complaints.
Yeah.
Whereas it's really tough to go to a doctor. So there's already those people that are reluctant to go to a medical clinic and wait for 3 hours to see a doctor.
I don't really get it. I often, I've moved so much. I end up having to look for a new doctor every time I move. And you go on Rate MDs or whatever, and half the reviews are like, Dr. So-and-so just, they just didn't seem to be listening to whatever. Or their secretary was so rude to me. 1 out of 5, and it's like very few about the ones I take seriously are the ones Dr. So-and-so missed this condition that I had and didn't misdiagnose it, or or caught this thing that I had no idea, and sent me for testing even what, and fought for me and blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't seem like people just want to, they want a therapist. They don't want a doctor.
Yeah, they want somebody who listens to what they have to say about how they feel.
Right. And
says, oh, well, this is what I think that is based on what you've told me. And they want to,
it's a balance, but
they want comfort, right?
Yeah, but and to an extent that's the doctor's job, but more importantly, it's to diagnose and treat illness, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of what you want. You know what I'm saying?
I think that there was something to be said about the idea that, the way that doctors have always been trained in the past have been to be very detached and methodical about their way of doing things. So then they go through patients quickly and they don't necessarily get to know you the way you want to get to know your doctor. And
yeah, but also these people they're humans. They have to live their lives. If they get wrapped up,
that's true,
in every patient's shit, I work in healthcare, and sometimes you go home at the end of the day and you can't internalize everybody's problems, because if you do, you will not survive. How will you have a career in, I work in cancer care. How will I have a career in cancer care if every patient that comes through, my heart is breaking for them? Actually, if I'm, of course, there's a balance. Of course you have to care to some extent, and you have to, but you have to, that professional distance is actually something you have to develop, because you cannot get that worked up about every little thing.
There is the opposite thing though too, where there are times where they just don't listen to the symptoms enough and don't find the correct diagnosis, and then you go to another doctor and they do because they actually listen to them.
For sure,
that is something that happens too, right?
Absolutely.
I think that needs to be acknowledged, because
it's tough, because there is, again, it goes back, in my opinion, to a shortage of resources in a lot of ways.
That's the problem. Is it's a bogged down system.
Well, and it's also based on, you get paid per patient. You're getting paid per patient that you see.
You're incentivized to make it faster.
You're incentivized to reduce the time that you're seeing each patient. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you have 20 questions literally for the doctor, and it takes a minute to explain the answer in such a way that the patient gets it, that takes a long time. And so you're feeling panicked because you're like, okay, I hope I remember all my questions. I wrote them all down. I brought my medication list, this. And before you even see the doctor, you talk to the nurse who pre-types. In the clinic that I go to, the nurse types up what your complaint is and asks a few general questions,
right,
so that the doctor has a little bit more information to go on, so that they can just, hit the ground running when they get into the exam room and just talk to you. But still, it just seems so impersonal. It's because you're going there and you're feeling vulnerable because you have a thing that has been bugging you for a long time, and yeah, you've already put it off for a few months because you don't want to go through the rigmarole of seeing a doctor because it takes time.
I mean, and I'm just spitballing here. I don't know how it would even work, but I wonder if there wouldn't be some way to pay them for their time versus per the patient. Because
I think that's the thing that needs to happen.
But there's the reason it's done the way it's done is the reason it's done the way it's done is because the government wants to incentivize them to be as efficient as possible to try to save healthcare dollars. So it's a. I'm not saying that's right
now
or wrong.
We're spending $5.3 billion on healthcare. Like we're spending a ton, and I mean, healthcare is probably one of the biggest expenditures in our province for sure.
I think it's actually one of the biggest, coming up with one of the biggest expenditures in the country.
I mean, that's understandable though too, right? Like that's when you have a country that pays for healthcare, then that's going to be one of the major costs.
Well, because I mean, anything from because of your population base, but two, because it doesn't cost you anything. So, whereas some of us don't go to the doctor unless it's like, holy crap, I broke both my legs.
Yeah,
there's some that go.
Right. I'm going to the doctor because I need to.
I stubbed my toe.
Well, and that's the other thing too, because they've done studies, and it's the 5% of people that are using the medical time 90% of the time.
Right. Yeah.
Some of those may be needed. I mean, only so much of the population has some horrible chronic disease.
That's
or
true.
Some,
I
mean, there is that. Yeah.
But also, and instead of having a reactive system, having a proactive system, like a preventative system of, okay, let's
regular
manage
checkups, like the way dentists almost work, where you get a 6-month checkup on schedule, and
so that if you have a cavity, it doesn't get bigger, and you don't have to get a root canal or whatever. And
But I'd say the dentist system that we have in Canada disincentivizes that, right? Because if you don't have money, you are disincentivized from going and paying that $150 or whatever to get your checkup done, right? Whereas our system, arguably compared to say the U.S., if you're not insured, I'm more likely to go in at an earlier stage of illness, and when hopefully things are easier to treat and will be cheaper to treat overall than if I wait till I'm absolutely dying, right?
Right. Yeah.
To be fair, though, we do have a more efficient system than the States.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm saying you're more likely to go in I'm still like, I hate going to the doctor, and like, I'm like, oh God, I want to go. But like, it's not like, and like, oh God, I don't go, and I don't want to pay $200 for a 20-minute visit or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I actually like going to the doctor. I just don't go because I don't want to be like the guy who goes for no good reason.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate going.
I mean, I know I need to go to the doctor for certain reasons, but it's kind of just there's so many hurdles. There's just a ton of obstacles.
Yeah.
But I also think that we need to bring the empathy back into the healthcare system. It's hard because those people are overworked and short-staffed. And they're taking a lot of sick days, but they're fucking stressed out.
Yep.
So.
All right. For everything else, you can check out the show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com and our website, brainstormblog.net. I'm slowly catching up on show notes on this. I've also been working on the website so that it's more navigation friendly. It's easy to get around on. So check that out. Thanks to our financial supporters, Zach, the Utah Outcasts, Bassett, Will, Aaron, Daryl, Destin Sucks, Lachlan. Destin doesn't suck that much.
We're going to get feedback next week.
Magnus, Michael, Positively Skeptical, Rob, and Stephanie. If you want to join them and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. You can also support us by donating to our GoFundMe for the conference at gofundme.com/shift-2-reason-conference-2018.
We got to work on that.
Or you can go buy some stuff, t-shirts and whatnot at tpublic.com/stores/brainstorm-podcast-gear. Yes, I know. That's a million slashes and dashes. That's why you go to the show notes. You can join us every second week when we broadcast live on brainstormradio.net. Our next show is on April 27th, and our guest will be Ian Harris, skeptical comedian. Thanks to Kevin and Company. I'm sorry I didn't remember everybody's names.
Nancy,
Kristen,
Kirsten, and
Christina. There we go. Thank you, all of you, for joining us. You can find more of their stuff at leftatthevalley.com. Check out the episode of that show I was on. That's a few months ago now, though.
I thought they said that wasn't their best.
Yeah, they didn't say. They did say that was not their best. Thanks, Dave, for intro music. Thanks to Aaron Rabbi from the Embrace the Void podcast for doing our new intro voiceover. You can find his stuff at voidpod.com. Thanks to Alex Capper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for our ads. Thanks to Jason Camole for the outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. Remember to give us a rating, write a thumbs up, or a fave on your podcatcher of choice. Join our Facebook group, like our page, follow us on Twitter, share the show, and spread the word. For live listeners, stick around for the after show. I'll stick around anyway. I don't know if anybody else is.
I got to get up earlier than I'd like. So.
It's brainstormafterhours.com and listen to the bonus content after it goes patron only. Or before it goes patron only. Thanks for listening, and remember, the truth matters.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel. Any guests or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Cory, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.
We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who listens to us, shares the show, gives us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or supports us through Patreon and Gumroad. We don't have a lot of interactions with our listeners, but what we have had proves that we attract some of the best people around. Smart, kind, and cool. An audience truly worthy of the titles hardcore and woo-free. Thanks for helping us make the world a smarter place.